This is your national forecast, and coming up we'll have more details on the active weather we're seeing through this evening across southern Ontario. Now, yesterday, of course, was Canada Day. Many people had the day off to take part in all the festivities and the parties. And I don't know about you, but after a good birthday party, I like to look back and remember and talk to my friends about what a great time we had. So as we look at a video at people doing just that, you can see that things calmed down for us today in Thunder Bay, but the storms have already fired up around London, Ontario earlier today, and we could see some storms really reinvigorating around Windsor and Sarnia as the evening rolls on, and then pushing towards Toronto, Barrie, and Peterborough as well too. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, it's been hot and humid today, really humid around Windsor, feeling closer to 45 with the humidity. So with that front pushing through, bringing us to thunderstorms, that's sort of the bad news story of the forecast. It will cool temperatures down and cut the humidity a little bit, so it won't be as oppressive outside. For Toronto, feeling closer to 33, and then the thunderstorms march on through towards Kingston and Montreal for your Sunday. And many people, of course, like looking at the thunderstorms. They can be fun, but they can also be a little bit scary at times. So we expect to see that this evening in southern Ontario. We'll continue to track them for you here at the Weather Network, so keep tuning in here as the evening rolls on. We'll look ahead though in Toronto. After the storms move through, it's looking pretty good. Ottawa, you have the greatest chance of the active weather for tomorrow. If we look in through Western Canada for today, Alberta seeing nice conditions. Those people dressed in their reds. I was dressed in red yesterday in honor of the event. Here, a different red, not a good red. As we look to Sunday, these areas could see some thunderstorms sparking up and through Saskatoon and Regina, and they could reach severe limits. So again, check in with us tomorrow to see how that's shaping up. Across Alberta, we could see some non-severe thunderstorms. Edmonton, you're going to see really a very soggy, overcast kind of day with steady rains, but we do clear up in the long-range forecast. Temperature-wise, really heats up for us across the southern prairies for your Sunday, but cools down as we head into your Monday for Regina. Looking towards the west in through Vancouver, 19 degrees for your Sunday. The showers begin tonight and they continue for the end of your weekend. Monday, as you head back to your regular routine, 18 degrees as the high there. As we look ahead at this long-range forecast, it's going to be a great weekend in through the Maritime provinces and for Newfoundland. Temperatures warming up, but by the end of the day on Sunday, we could see some storms rolling in through northern New Brunswick. Clearing in through southern Ontario, although Ottawa, Montreal, chance of showers for your Sunday. Hot, humid conditions across the southern prairies. With the front marching on through, we could see some thunderstorms in southern Saskatchewan. And then as we head into Monday, Winnipeg, you're going to start to see some rain there. Humid weather still in southern Ontario with a humidex value for Toronto in the mid-30s for the next 5 days. And then we're seeing some thunderstorms there and through the Maritime. So by Monday, it looks like when you get back to your regular routine across the Maritime provinces, that's when the active weather comes. So perfect conditions this weekend to head to the beach. By Tuesday, southern Ontario still humid. Northwestern Ontario now getting into some storms, and hot and humid across the prairies. And speaking of hot and humid, heat wave has been affecting areas in Russia. The monsoon season has begun, and many in Pakistan are worried this year's rains will bring more flooding than last year. Last summer, the worst deluge in decades killed parts of the country are even more vulnerable to floods than before. Up to 5 million people could be affected by this new round of rain. Pakistan's monsoon season starts the first week of July. That's a look at international news. We have more coming up on the program after your local forecast, and they begin now. Now that you're up to speed on your local forecasts, let's see what's making headlines in Weather Network News. I'm Nicole Karkic. It's Saturday, July 2nd. Astronomer Andrew Yee traditionally helps to tell our viewers what to check out in the night sky, what sort of stars to look at, and what time of year is best to look at what type of stars. But there's lots of things to check out in the sky. And for cloud lovers, you want to stay tuned for Andrew Yee's details on one of the highest clouds in the Earth's atmosphere. We could see some thunderstorms this evening as the day rolls on just along this front right here across southern Ontario. So with the heat and humidity and that front pushing through, it's really ideal conditions for thunderstorms passing through southwestern Ontario, Toronto, Cottage Country. By Sunday, towards Kingston, Ottawa, Montreal, greatest chance of active weather for you by then as that front pushes through your area. So keep in mind here, the most severe weather we could see in Ontario generally is towards Windsor, Sarnia, California and London for today. I know we've already seen some storms passing through around London, reports of hail. With this resurgence of this front pushing through, we could see the hail once again, the damaging winds, and lots of rain. Non-severe storms, generally speaking, towards Toronto, Barrie, and in through Parry Sound. But of course, boaters beware that it could get really active as the evening rolls on. For Sunday, as it pushes towards Montreal, you can see those non-severe storms over there. For Atlantic Canada this evening, really gorgeous conditions. Temperatures are nice and summer-like in St. John's for today and for your Sunday as well. Maybe you're seeing a little bit more cloud cover, and it's not until Sunday evening when we start to see some rain pushing in through northern sections of New Brunswick, and by Monday you'll see some thunderstorms passing through the maritime provinces. In Western Canada for today, it looks very beautiful, and yesterday looked really great too. Today, festivities were alive and well for this evening. You can head outside once again and just continue your long weekend across the prairies. Look at that, very clear. That's the type of day you'd like to see on the weekend. But to end off the weekend, this front pushing through Edmonton and Calgary could spark off some thunderstorms, and by the time it reaches Saskatchewan, those thunderstorms could reach severe limits for tomorrow. By Monday, you're seeing the rain in Winnipeg. So there it is, the areas of concern as we end off your weekend in the prairies. A look across the country at your temperatures. Mexican authorities confirmed 3 deaths from Tropical Storm Arlene yesterday. The U.S. National Hurricane Center says remnants from the storm could continue. It has been flown into a township where 200 people were cut off by 2 rivers that overflowed. That's a look at international news. Stay tuned for your local forecast details. They begin a few moments from right now and right here at the Weather Network. They come up every 10 minutes on the 10s. Sunday afternoon, perfect conditions to go for a long sea-doo around Parry Sound. Georgian Bay looking gorgeous, 26 degrees. Haliburton 26 around Gananoque. That's where we could see some stormy weather. And in through Montebello too. It's towards Quebec where we're certainly seeing the active weather for tomorrow. Today it seems to be around southern Ontario. But towards Atlantic Canada, looks great. Coming up after your local forecast details, we'll talk about how the rest of this long weekend looks weather-wise. Some of us are seeing active weather, but lots of major cities across the country yesterday had some perfect conditions on, and it's ideal in through parts of the Maritimes, as well as along the West Coast. We have your temperature story coming up next. Stay tuned. It was a refreshing day for Israelis Friday. The 7th annual Tel Aviv Water War took place in Rabin Square. People were armed with water guns. There was one rule for the event. Nobody can bring water used from outside the square. Well, it certainly looked like a lot of fun, but of course on Friday we were having our own fun here across the country with Canada Day. Stay tuned for your local forecast. Now that you're all up to speed on your local forecast, let's see what's making headlines in Weather Network News. I'm Nicole Karkic. It's Saturday, July 2nd. In southern Ontario right now, we have a humidex advisory in place for southwestern Ontario, feeling like the mid-40s for us around Windsor. We also have a smog advisory in place that includes the city of Toronto, even towards Barrie and east towards Kingston. Very hot, humid, sticky conditions are potentially threatening for people who are outside doing any physical activity. If you want to avoid heat stroke, stay tuned to this story right now from Natalie Thomas on just that. Well, it's certainly hot, humid, and sticky already this afternoon across southern Ontario and even in through northern Ontario too. But there's the front right there that's going to potentially spark off some severe thunderstorms, some non-severe throughout the greater Toronto region, in through cottage country for today. Really random in nature, and by Sunday it starts to clear out, but towards Ottawa and Montreal you're going to see some showers there. By Monday, high pressure rolling into place. But here's the risk for today. Once again, around the Saugeen Shores in through southwestern Ontario, you could see severe thunderstorms reigniting, and non-severe potentially towards Toronto as the evening rolls on, and in through cottage country more so for the afternoon, late afternoon time. By Sunday, we're going to see those non-severe storms around Kingston, Montreal, and in through Ottawa potentially. And as we look towards Atlantic Canada, really great conditions for today. Many people commenting on how it looks like summer today in St. John's with temperatures finally around 20 degrees. Looks great for beach weather as the weekend rolls on, but by Sunday evening, we're seeing some storms moving in through New Brunswick. Monday's a little bit more unsettled for us in the east. Stay tuned. The Weather Watch continues. Imagine this, a free trip to San Diego and 2 tickets to see the world premiere of Cowboys and Aliens. Well, you can win just that if you head to theweathernetwork.com/Cowboys and Aliens. Crews have been working around the clock to contain a massive wildfire in northwestern Ontario. Hundreds of firefighters are hoping to quench the flames. Speaking of northwestern Ontario, we did see some thunderstorms yesterday around Thunder Bay. For this evening, they'll be around the Greater Toronto region. If you're just joining us and you live in southwestern Ontario, you need to know that a severe thunderstorm watch is now in place around Windsor, Huron, London, so we could see the thunderstorms popping up once again in the area. And we did see them earlier today around London and the Saugeen Shore, so the potential for these to be quite active with strong winds, heavy downpours, the whole bit. It hasn't reached Canadian soil quite yet. It's still tracking through the United States, but it has its eyes on southwestern Ontario. We have that humidex advisory in place that extends towards Owen Sound. It's hot, humid, sticky, and also lots of smog in the atmosphere towards Toronto, Hamilton, and even in through Barrie. We don't have strong winds quite yet, so that stagnant air mass is still really in place for us. You want to definitely do any sort of physical activity for long periods of time indoors throughout today. So through this evening, once again, and through southwestern Ontario, active weather. Then towards Toronto, we could see those non-severe thunderstorms, and then it tracks east towards Montreal for tomorrow, and thunderstorms tomorrow across the prairies.